The U.S. Postal Service is searching for its next leader. Louis DeJoy stepped down yesterday. He faced serious criticism over mail delivery issues that surged after he took charge during the pandemic. Those issues continue to have a lasting impact on our region nearly 5 years later. New tonight, WCTV Investigates is taking another look at a rise in mail crime across Leon County. Over the past several months, our I-team has worked to get federal data showing where mail theft, including check washing, is happening in Leon County. Zach joins us now in studio to explain what the data is showing and the trends that postal inspectors are seeing. Zach?
Well, Abby, for months, people have been reaching out to our newsroom about mail issues happening in their neighborhoods, from late mail to thefts. Many say they're losing their patience with the Postal Service. And we recently got records revealing how often this is happening, and we took those numbers to a postal inspector for answers.
Persistent problems with the U.S. Postal Service have impacted many in Leon County for months.
We have a lot of mischief around the area.
People mailing off important items like checks telling WCTV Investigates they've noticed changes when it comes to mail delivery in the area.
We don't get ours until dark, and we used to get it like 3 o'clock, something like that. We'll find our envelopes opened, partially ripped or something like that. Mailbox to be open.
Dave Durrance lives around Lake Munson in Leon County. His recent experiences have left him wary, especially when mailing checks.
Yeah, I wrote couple of checks, been over 3 weeks or better, and they still hadn't went through the bank yet. And it shouldn't take that long because everything's local.
WCTV Investigates recently got data from the U.S. Postal Inspection Service to take a closer look at how prevalent the issue is in Leon County.
We looked at data available for check fraud schemes, including stolen or altered checks reported in Leon County since March 2020. Out of 206 total complaints, Durrance's zip code 32305 ranked the highest in the county, making up more than 40% of those cases.
It don't surprise me. It really don't.
Understand the concern, and just they need to know too that we take it very seriously.
Fred Fernandez is a Tallahassee-based postal inspector. We asked him about the data we got from the Postal Inspection Service, including the numbers related to Durrance's home zip code.
I look at the data, it's apparent to me, and a lot of people in my position would look at it and realize that when you see a jump in the numbers in relation to a specific zip code, what that means to me, a batch of mail was stolen at one place. And so that affected the people that are in that particular area.
Fernandez says criminals have become more sophisticated and organized, especially when it comes to check washing and tech.
It's quite scary and disturbing.
Dr. David Maimon is a criminology professor at Georgia State University who spent years infiltrating online fraud groups to expose online check washing.
We simply try to nudge folks' attention to the fact that we're seeing that this is happening and that they need to do something about that.
Maimon says check washing has become a crime that's risen dramatically since the pandemic, especially in Florida, after gangs decided to pick up the scheme.
During 2020, 2021, it was fairly complicated for some of the gangs out there to move drugs, and so they had to find different ways to make money.
He even says it's become a trend for criminals to casually flaunt their crimes.
Criminals were so brazen, essentially talking about what they were doing on social media apps. We're talking about Telegram, but also, of course, Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. Folks were essentially uploading videos of themselves washing checks. They were flashing a lot of money during that process.
Those posts proving helpful for inspectors like Fernandez.
Suspects are using social media to almost boast and communicate. But what they don't realize sometimes is that when they're boasting on something like a social media app, that's out there for us to view, and we can preserve that and utilize that against them as a part of our case.
While postal inspectors work to catch criminals after the fact, critics say more needs to be done to prevent mail fraud up front. Maimon believes solutions should include more enforcement, awareness about penalties, and banks paying closer attention.
We need to advertise efforts and advertise the fact that this is something that we shouldn't really do over social media platforms.
As for Durrance, he's rethinking how he handles his money and hoping for solutions while keeping a closer eye on his mailbox.
It shouldn't take 3-4 weeks to pay a check. Hell, by the time it runs through the bank, it's time to go ahead and write another one.
Now, on March 12th, our Washed Away series continues with a dive into possible solutions for this growing problem. The president of the National Postal Police Union has a unique perspective on the issue. He reached out after our original report with claims about dwindling resources over the past few years since the COVID pandemic. Now, we took those concerns to postal inspectors and asked both sides about solutions to protect your mail. We'll also share how a capital city credit union is using technology to protect customers, Abby.
Oh, that's so interesting, and it's something impacting so many people in our area. Thank you so much for that report tonight, Zach.
You got it.
It's very likely if you continue to mail checks, it's not a matter of if, but when your check is intercepted.
Thousands of dollars of your money stolen from your mail. For several months, our WCTV Investigates team has been shining a light on a rise in mail theft across Leon County.
Now, as one check washer faces sentencing, our Zach Dahlheimer explores emerging solutions to this growing problem.
Romeo Wilson will be sentenced next week after pleading guilty to more than 20 federal charges, including bank fraud, mail theft, and possessing a U.S. Postal Service arrow key. One financial institution named in the case is First Commerce Credit Union, where prosecutors say Wilson withdrew $5 grand from 5 accounts in one day.
From what I understand about the case, there was a lot of financial institutions involved. This guy was spreading the wealth, so to speak.
As the senior director of risk management for First Commerce, Alan Burks helps battle fraud. It's a problem he knows intimately from his work as chair of the Big Bend Fraud and Forgery Task Force.
Check fraud in general, and this tells you how rampant it is a running agenda item on our meetings.
Burks says their group has grown to include financial institutions from as far as Macon, Georgia and Central Florida, working to bridge gaps in communication between banks and law enforcement.
Say if you have a traveling group that's stolen a bunch of checks and have altered those checks or washed or created fake checks, we can get ahead of them.
U.S. Postal Inspector Fred Fernandez says Wilson's case is an example of how local and federal agencies can collaborate to catch check washers.
Like most federal agencies, especially in smaller areas where we don't have as many of us, you have to work hand in hand.
But bringing cases like Wilson's to justice may be harder now than ever.
When I was a letter carrier, I had to worry about dogs. Now letter carriers have to worry about being beaten, being robbed. It's a dangerous situation.
Frank Albergo is the national president of the Postal Police Officers Association, representing uniformed police officers with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. He reached out to us after our first report, claiming that dwindling resources for postal police are leading to more mail crimes.
Mail theft is spiking. Checks are being stolen. They're being washed. They're being counterfeited. You have to stop it. You have to stop it from happening.
Albergo says a big part of the issue is staffing.
They don't have enough postal inspectors, and they certainly don't have enough postal police officers.
We do have postal police officers, but they're not utilized primarily here in Tallahassee.
Fernandez said no postal police officers are based in the Big Bend, with the closest being in Atlanta and Miami, but he says they will travel here if needed.
We recognize that we need to continue to fulfill the vacancies that may be there or maybe that we expect to be there as far as our staffing complement, and we're going to continue to try to hire what we need to hire in order to fill those vacancies.
Fernandez tells us they're very active in recruiting officers and inspectors. Despite the staffing concerns, everyone has emphasized that prevention is key.
It's better to prevent crime than it is to investigate it after the fact.
Financial institutions like First Commerce are trying to use new technology to protect consumers. Now you're getting an up-close look at the online banking services First Commerce Credit Union offers to its members. And when it comes to fraud detection tech, Burks says within the last year they were able to find roughly $100,000 in fraudulent checks. This includes stolen, altered, and washed checks that tried to clear members' accounts.
It looks for anomalies in either check amounts or check numbers that clear your account. If you're writing checks in a certain check number range and it clears outside of that range, that would be something that would trigger an alert. Or if the amount was larger. On the consumer side, we will pick those up in alerts and reach out to our account holders and ask them, did you write this check, and did you write this check to this person? And that's key. Order this business.
The goal, to keep checks from landing in the wrong hands, but also to help those impacted by criminal schemes.
When you have a job and you have a mission, and your mission is to protect the mail, when you put in a lot of work and the results of the investigation is a successful prosecution, it's a great feeling.
Especially when you can prevent someone from becoming a victim. You can help folks alleviate concern, alleviate the stigma behind becoming a fraud victim.
Wilson's sentencing is set for March 21st. We'll be sure to keep you posted on what comes out of the hearing. For WCTV Investigates, I'm Zach Dahlheimer.
And shortly after our newscast tonight, our head of investigations, Chastity Maynard, will be sharing a behind-the-scenes look at how our team's investigation came together.
You can watch that on our news app, website, and anywhere you stream WCTV.
We have an update this afternoon in our WCTV Investigates series, Washed Away. For months, our team has been shining a light on mail theft and check washing that's happening throughout the Big Bend and how postal inspectors and bankers are looking for solutions. Our Zach Dahlheimer helped spearhead this investigation. Now, Zach, you've learned that our series has caught the attention of state lawmakers.
Yeah, Ava, that's right, including Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture, Wilton Simpson, whose office reached out to us last month. Now, Commissioner Simpson told us our reports helped influence part of this year's Florida Farm Bill, which tackles mail theft. He says if it passes, it would make it a state felony for stealing checks out of mailboxes from homes and businesses in Florida. I sat down with Simpson to learn more about how our investigation influenced this call for change at the Capitol.
We have got to get ahead of the curve on this. We appreciate your reporting and the investigations that you've done. And so it makes us want to, and we are responding in our Farm Bill this year with some legislation that we hope will help curb this.
Wow, that's incredible, Zach. And while lawmakers are considering ways to prevent mail crime, what can people do to keep their mail safe?
Well, experts, including U.S. postal inspectors, have a lot of helpful recommendations, Ava. Here's some of them right here we want to show you. First off, you should avoid mailing checks if you can. If you do need to mail one, though, use the letter slots inside your local post office. You can also write checks with what they call indelible black ink, such as a permanent marker, so criminals cannot alter them. Also, the best strategy is to use electronic payments like an e-check, and always keep a close eye on your bank accounts. Now, coming up at 5:30, I'll share more from Commissioner Simpson about why he and other lawmakers feel it's important for mail theft to be included in the 2025 Florida Farm Bill. And later tonight, I'll be sharing our extended interview with him. You can join me live at 6:45 on our website, news app, and our WCTV streaming platforms.
That's important information. Thank you so much, Zach.
You got it. For months, I and the rest of our WCTV Investigates team have looked into rampant mail fraud and check washing in the Big Bend. Now we've learned state lawmakers have seen our Washed Away series and are taking notice. The Office of Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture, Wilton Simpson, told us our reports helped inspire part of this year's Florida Farm Bill, which tackles mail theft. The bill would make it a state felony for stealing checks from mailboxes. Commissioner Simpson told photojournalist Sam Thomas and I he's seen this type of activity not just here in the Big Bend, but all around the state, and happening more often, especially to certain populations like seniors and after devastating events like the recent major hurricanes.
You see these tragedies, and this is a tragedy within the tragedy. It's bad enough that they have problems, you know, with in their life with like a hurricane or other things, and then you have someone stealing their money. And why don't we do a better job of policing that? And why don't we have the tools in the toolbox to put those type of people in jail?
Now, the commissioner also told us technology will be important to track activity and keep people safe, especially as AI continues to evolve. So if this passes, what would that mean for law enforcement? Well, I asked the commissioner to dive more into this in our conversation, and you'll hear more from him on that coming up at 6. And I hope you'll also join me tonight at 6:45 live on our streaming platforms as I share our extended interview with Commissioner Simpson.
We want to share some new developments in our WCTV Investigates series, Washed Away, targeting mail theft and check fraud in the Big Bend. It is now inspiring some new legislation in Florida.
Part of this year's Florida Farm Bill focuses on mail theft. Our Zach Dahlheimer joins us in studio. And Zach, what would this bill do?
Well, Julian Jacob, Florida Commissioner of Agriculture Wilton Simpson describes this bill as a force multiplier. He says this will allow state prosecutors to get more involved, with the onus being put on the state and take it solely off the feds, more specifically the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and federal prosecutors. He believes it's crucial to have a comprehensive network of state and local resources working with the federal government to find whoever is committing these crimes and to prosecute them in state courts rather than just in federal courts.
The Attorney General's office, our office, law enforcement from around the state will actually be able to do something to have teeth, where when we find them, we don't have to turn them over to a federal agency and have it be a federal crime. Now it's an in-state crime. So it's something we can now see the fruit of our labor. We will be able to track it. We'll be able to put these folks in jail.
And Simpson went more specific, saying there would be some more boots on the ground to help the Postal Inspection Service, whether it's ag deputies, local county sheriff's deputies, or police officers. Now, both the House and Senate versions of this bill are scheduled to be heard in committees tomorrow. And if passed and signed into law, the 2025 Florida Farm Bill would go into effect July 1st of this year, Julian Jacob.
All right, Zach, thank you for shining a light on this problem. And we want to let everybody know that Zach's going to be live streaming on WCTV now right after our newscast at 6:45. He's going to have an extended interview with Commissioner Simpson and more perspective on check theft in the Big Bend and beyond.
A bill partly influenced by a WCTV Investigates series has passed the Florida legislature and is now heading to Governor DeSantis' desk. The 2025 Florida Farm Bill covers a variety of issues, like making it a felony for stealing checks out of mailboxes from homes and businesses in Florida. Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture Wilton Simpson said the legislation is a blueprint for protecting Floridians. Last month, WCTV Investigates sat down with Simpson after he and his team saw our Washed Away series on check fraud and mail crime issues in the Big Bend. He shared how the reports helped inform lawmakers and shape the way they chose to tackle the issue of mail fraud and theft in Florida.
We have got to get ahead of the curve on this. We appreciate your reporting and the investigations that you've done. And so it makes us want to, and we are responding in our Farm Bill this year with some legislation that we hope will help curb this.
You can watch our Senate interview with Commissioner Simpson about our series' influence on the Farm Bill and the Commissioner's knowledge of mail theft and check fraud right now on WCTV.tv. You can also find our full 3-part Washed Away investigative series by clicking on the Special Reports tab on our website.